Lomex. Telescope day could be a stack up. Okay, let's go. Binya Bojulu, 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 Binya Bojulu, 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 Chibala Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu, Chibala Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu, Chibala Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu, Banata Langa Wenu, Banata Perega Wenu, Bojulu Tachube Wenu, Banata Bojora Wenu, Bojulu Tamukaya Wenu, Banata Loka Wenu, Banata Kenyi Wenu, Banata Moche Wenu, Banata Wonduba Wenu, Exulomex, give what you sit up, give what you sit up, line up, come on, give what you sit up, give what you sit up, the new cine best, the new cine best. Binya Bojulu, 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 Binya Bojulu, 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 Chibulana Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu, Chibulana Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu, Chibulana Binya Bojulu, Ander Binya Bojulu. Banata Bojulu Hilwin, Banata Bojulu Gavin, Banata Bojulu Hardworking, Halatu, Ilamasi, Kamar. Kulu Gavin, Baba, 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 Jibulana, Bina Bojulu, Mama, 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 Jibulana, Bina Bojulu, Ankol, 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 Jibulana, Bina Bojulu, the new cine best, the new cine best. Let's start again. Okay, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Binya Bojulu, 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 Binya Bojulu, Bojulu.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that introductory song by a South Sudanese musician, MC Lomex. He was appealing to the girls or the ladies in his cultural group. And in fact, the song is loved by most South Sudanese people. That is why we presented it in our introductory song for this presentation. So in our previous presentations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in the South Sudan National Participation Institute, we had mentioned that we are going to talk about some of the South Sudan cultural groups. And in fact, we had actually talked about two groups, the Ashwali and the Azande groups. And in fact, also we had recorded some other cultural groups. But when we were about to upload those groups, there was a technical problem. Or in other words, there are some difficulties in uploading those videos. And as a result, we suspended the process of recording more videos of the cultural groups in South Sudan. In the meantime, what we are going to do is we will just talk in a broad presentation about all the South Sudanese cultural groups, and in that way we will be able to avoid this piecemeal type of presentation of these cultural groups. So we will announce to you when we will be doing that broad presentation. But today, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that is the topic of the child development, or the process of human development or human growth. As you know, like all the other living creatures, whether these are butterflies or frogs that go through a life cycle, the human being also go through the same process. And it is actually incumbent upon us here in the South Sudan National Participation Institute to talk about this process, because this process from the start is very important. If we understand it very well, it will help us in shaping the future generations. So that is why we have prepared this presentation to make it, hoping that it will be a learning process, and especially for people who have children or who had their children in the later stages of their lives. And even it is fitting for people who don't have children, but during our lifetime, we will in one way or another, come into contact or be in a position to actually work with children or even with the adults in our lives. So that is why we are going to talk about this topic. So we're going to talk about subtopics. The first one is what is the field of human development or child development, and then we will talk about why do people actually have children in the first place. And then we will move to the family size. We will talk about that. And then we will also talk about the periods of child development or human development, the types of children, followed by the changes that occur during the process of growth. And then we will talk about some of the basic emotions. And then we will also talk about another important topic, and that is the resiliency, the element of resiliency in the human development. So ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, these are the topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk briefly, because if we were to talk about the topic in broad terms, it's going to be a very long topic. But what we're going to do is we will just make a brief summary of the whole topic. So here we go. What is the field of child development? Child development actually includes different fields. It includes the family, it includes the school system, it includes the doctors, the dentists, the sporting clubs, and you name it. So any agency or any organization that works with children or for children, these all form part of the field of child development. So it is a broad field. It is not a static field, but it's a dynamic field based on the process of the human development itself. So that is in a nutshell about the field of child development. Now we will move to the next subtopic, and that is the topic of why people have children. Some decades back or centuries ago, people have children because it is a biological given. It is a natural process. For those who are capable of having children, like I mentioned, like all the other living creatures, people used to have this biological or natural sense of having children. But over the years, especially in the modern times and with the advance in technology and knowledge and all these fields of family planning and so on, having children becomes a choice, especially in the developed world. So, and that is why now people choose if they want to have children or not. But the bottom line is that in the end of the day, it is a natural process. It is a biological given that people have children. So after that being established, we're going to move to the family size. Is there a number of children that could determine the parental success in raising these children or not? is there like a bottom line or a a roof, you know, a limit for the number of children? You know, there is no limit for anything like that. But the most important thing is that if a person has the energy and the resources and the time to take care of these children, then it is well and good. But if people don't have the resources and the energy and the time, then it becomes wise to think about the number of children you're going to have. Because sometimes other people may think that, you know, as human beings, the job of the parents is to fill the earth, for that matter, or to multiply, or to have a lot of children. And in this way, people will know you, or they will help you, and so on. But, you know, after everything has been said and done, you know, every child is a valuable human being, a valuable creature. That is why they need the time, they need the resources to take care of them, and they also need the attention and the time to look after them. That is why for people who are planning to have children, you know, it is very important to think about these factors. If you look at people in the developed countries, they have maybe 1 or 2, maximum 3 children. And for those who have like 5 or 6 children, that is considered as a large family compared to other developing countries. But I think the reason people choose to have a limited number of children is so that they can be able to give them the time, the attention, and provide the resources that can be able to help these children grow into very successful people. So therefore, there is no any limit for children, but as long as you can fulfill all these requirements, then, you know, you are free to have as many children as you want. So that is that. And now, after that's being established, we're going to move about to the periods of child development. You know, there are maybe 4 periods of child development. The first one is when the child is still a fetus, you know, in the womb, and followed by that is the infancy, when the child is born as an infant, and that is between the age of you know, after birth to 2 years. And then from 2 years, this is the period of toddlerhood, where the child is a toddler. You know, they have a lot of tantrum, they have a lot of energy, and so on. And then from 2 years to 6 years, this is called early childhood. And in this period of time, the children are beginning to increase their vocabulary. They begin to make some judgments in their lives. They begin to learn a lot of things, and they can be able to remember things that happen in this period for the rest of their life. At least most children or most people do remember. And then after the early childhood, from 11 years to 18 years, this is the adolescence, or it's also called the teenage years. And in this period of time in the human development, a lot of changes occur. And then after that, there is another period called emerging adults. And this is the period from the age of 20 years to mid or late 20s. And after that, it is the period of adulthood, from say 30 years until you know, say 85, you know, 100, and so on, for those who are lucky. So these are the most important periods of human development or child development. And during these periods, there are a lot of changes that occur. The most important changes that occur are the physical changes, the cognitive changes, and the emotional and social changes. And these changes, by the way, happens during the entire period of human development. For the physical changes, these are easy to detect because they happen in the physical appearance of the person or of the child. You see them growing, they may be increased some in weight of the children, and so on. This is the physical changes. And for the cognitive changes, these are happening in the child's brain or the human brain. And these differ from one stage of life to another stage of life. So basically, it's something that deals with the human brain growth, and then the emotional and social changes. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are the most important changes that actually occurs in the life of the human being. And whatever happens, in the human emotions, especially from the stage of toddlerhood and early childhood, this will remain with the child or the person for the rest of their lives, whether these are good experiences or negative experiences. Therefore, it is really important to focus on these emotional changes because they are the ones that actually shape the life of the person after that. Therefore, it is very important for parents, for caregivers, for educators, and for all the people who are aspiring to have children, or those who are working with children or will be working with children, is to know that the emotions of the children are the most important aspect of their lives. And in regards to emotions, there are basic emotions. And these emotions, the basic emotions include happiness, interest in certain things, fear, anger, sadness, distrust, and so on. So, and these emotions are called basic emotions because they help the human beings in their survival in life. So, in terms of children, there are two types of emotions. The pleasant stimulations, these are the emotions that attract happiness and that makes the children or the person happy. And the other types of emotions are called the unpleasant stimulus. And these emotions are unpleasant emotions because they help the child withdraw from being there with their siblings or with the age mates and so on. Therefore, as parents or as caregivers or people who work with children or for children, it is very important to pay attention to these emotions because these emotions are the ones that help in three things. The first one is self image or self concept. And this process is happens basically during the early years, like between the age of 6 and 11. The children begin to know this concept of self-concept. They begin to form some ideas about who they are. They compare the traits or the characteristics that they have, comparing them to the other peers or to their siblings or to their age groups. So this self-concept is linked to the human emotions. So that is in the middle years. And then when the child is a teenage or adolescent, then they begin to form their own identity. They think about themselves, about the values that they believe in. They begin to form their personality. They begin to think about things like justice, fairness, and their interest, the things that they believe in. So therefore, the parental environment or the home environment and where they spend most of their time, all these environments will actually help in the process of the formation of the human identity. And then there is another important aspect. It's called the emotional regulation. And this is the process in which the human being will be able to regulate their emotions. Like if they feel like they want to get angry, then they can be able to control that. Or if they are overexcited, they will try to control that overexcitement. And that is called emotional regulation. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the field of or the process of human development is a very important and sensitive process, and sometimes, or even for the most part, it's overlooked. And if it is not well nurtured, then that is what will produce the people afterward. And it is also important to remember that whatever we inculcate in the children at the younger age or at the earlier stages of life is what will actually be displayed in their latter stages of life. Or this is what they will demonstrate later on when they grow into adulthood. So therefore, these are very important stages and important changes in the human development. And that's why we thought about making this presentation. Another important thing is the resilience, the element of resiliency in the human being. Resiliency is the ability of the child or the person to adapt effectively in the face of threats to development. And some of the important factors that help with resilience include the following: personal characteristics like intelligence and talents. Those are all things that are embedded in our emotions and in our cognitive development. So therefore, it is very important to pay attention to these elements, or to these aspects of the child development, because if they are well developed in the child, then the children will be able to be resilient. They will be able to adapt to different life situations as they come. Therefore, a warm parental relationships, social support outside the immediate family, for example, in a sporting club, friends, summer or winter camps, and so on, and resources in the community such as good schools, good social environment, good family environment, recreation centers, extracurricular activities, religious groups, and so on. These are all important elements in shaping or in helping with the resilience, or with the children adopting to all the changes that may happen in their lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, today we just make a quick run about this topic, hoping that it is a good learning experience, and that it will help so many people who aspire to have children, or even parents, and even those who don't aspire to have children. At a certain stage in your life, you will come into encounter with children, or institutions that work with children. And by knowing all these things, this will help you in how you can actually relate to the children or to the people in your surrounding. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Before we end, we are going to play one song by another South Sudanese musician, and then we will conclude our discussion today about this topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned with us as we prepare that song. Just a sec. Here we go.
Strong mama, strong mama, strong mama, you want to strong mama. Inch away, inch away, Kubana de dear mama. Strong mama, strong mama, strong mama, you want to strong mama. Inch away, inch away, Kubana de dear mama. I've been moving from east to west, north to south. Chirana tonga yin mama. You are my number one. I'ma sing this melody for you, mama, mama. Ooh. I've been praying to God every day. Kubi kwan, kubi God, mama you are so, whoa whoa, mama you are so nice. It's what me say, mama you are better than the rest. You lead every man that come on me way. Mama you are make me so strong. You made me who I am today. Ay, ay, ay. From zero to hero, mama you are make me. From zero to hero, mama, you are make me go. Shukran, mama, shukran, mama, shukran, mama. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, feel this sound. Strong mama, strong mama, strong mama, you want to strong mama. Inch away, inch away, Kubana de dear mama. Strong mama, strong mama, strong mama, you want to strong mama. Inch away. Mama, you are my everything. Mama, you are my everyday and night. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be. Got it, chili, cheese, Ravana. Mama, you in chat. Oh, we love you in your mama. You're the strongest of women I know. The strongest of women I have. We can do without you, can live without you, can breathe without you, mama. Strong mama, strong mama, strong mama, you are the strong mama. Inch away, inch away.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that young South Sudanese musician, we just want to say thank you for your time. And until we meet again, just want to have wish that you have a good time and you have learned from this presentation. Thank you very much and have a good day or good evening or good night wherever you are. Peace.